Carly. I'm just waiting on our guests to join us, and we'll get started in a minute. Hi, Rana.
Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm good. Hi, Mehra. How's it going?
Good, good. I'm just waiting on them to join.
Hi, Sayal from Ramallah.
Yeah, I'll do my best to read the comments throughout, but I think we'll just keep it fairly informal and have a conversation. Hi, Soher.
Now I can see the comments, but maybe once the conversation starts, it will be maybe difficult, but it's good to see our community coming together.
Yeah. Okay. I see a request from
Hi.
Esther. There she is. Hello.
Hi.
Hi, Nikki.
Hi.
Sorry. So we
Wait,
have
now I
also the
don't
network
see.
account
I
running
don't
too.
see Rana.
I see everyone fine.
Oh, okay. So maybe it's just.
How are you, Esther?
I'm okay. Somehow I got very, very tired, but I'm better now. I had a bit of rest
Good.
before we started. Yeah.
Beautiful. Nagin, how are you?
Tired.
Also,
The running
Like this
theme
is
is tired, tired, tired. Oy.
wait, I will try
what
to
can
make
you do?
myself somewhere else so the light is a bit better.
Let's hope that the Wi-Fi, all the technical things work in our favor.
Yeah.
I've put my dog in my bedroom. He's in the bomb shelter, so we won't hear him bark. Okay, well, I think we can get started. People will join, they'll come in, and of course, we'll post later, so we can take bits and pieces of and share that also with like the wider network. But yeah, thank you so much for coming together. I'm really happy that we're doing this. Let me just add Azini. Nagin, did you request to join?
I asked her to send a request.
Okay, sure. So I'll keep a lookout for that. In the meanwhile, maybe I'll just introduce myself. My name's Carly Rosenthal. I live in Jaffa. I am a member of Combatants for Peace. For anyone who hasn't heard of us, we're a binational non-violent movement of Israelis and Palestinians, founded by former combatants on both sides. And today we're a wider network of many activists who are striving to end the occupation, to end the war, to bring peace, justice, and equality to this land. And we are really excited about this collaboration with Azadi Network. And Nagin, maybe you can just introduce yourself and say a bit about it as the founder of this organization and this group.
Yes. So I am, as you said, I'm the founder of Azadi Network. I'm an Iranian activist, journalist, and I've been trying, like at least for the last 2 years, to kind of push the narrative of the feminist movement, both in Iran and for us, the feminism doesn't have borders. And this narrative, it's really based on peace and looking at the patriarchal structure all around and understanding what's happening. So that was something that led me to meet you guys, and our collaborations has been going on for a while now. But I think it's really good that for the first time we're taking it to the public. We're doing it, on Instagram Live. We've always been behind the scene, talking to each other,
Yeah.
and our trusted networks. So I'm really glad that we're doing this.
Yeah, I mean, and I think there's a lot of we can also talk about if people have questions about it. But yeah, there's a lot of sensitivities around obviously Israel, Palestine, and Iran, and collaborations, and but that's, I think, also a part of the problem, that our governments, our leaders, they don't want us connecting and having this shared struggle. So I think, yeah, it's more powerful when we see and recognize that in each other. So yeah, it's really exciting to be building this network with you. So thanks for joining us. And Rana, do you want to just briefly introduce yourself?
Do we have Rana, or she's disconnected?
Rana? Esther, are you with us?
I am. Yeah, I am here.
Okay,
so maybe I will
till
go
she
and
comes
then.
back, you go if you want to go for it.
Yeah, and then hopefully Rana will be able to join. So hi everyone watching. I like the little hearts that we are getting. I'm Esther. I'm the Israeli co-director of Combatants for Peace. I live in Jerusalem in the last 9 years. I'm originally from Hungary. I was born and grew up there, and then I somehow ended up in Israel looking for adventure, or looking for, I didn't really know for what. But then after I spent 3 years in a kibbutz, in an intentional community in the middle of the desert, I wanted to understand more of the conflict and more of what's happening in the region, and I came to Jerusalem. It was originally planned to be for a year, but then I met my partner who is from here, and basically this is why I stayed. And with the decision of staying here, I also decided that I want to do something to make this place equal and free, and hopefully also peaceful for everyone living between the river and the sea, not just for Jews. And also in this first year in Jerusalem, I got to know Combatants for Peace, which I was very, very inspired by the leaders, the founders, the very authentic partnership that we have while we are recognizing the occupation and recognizing the power dynamics of occupier and occupied, and still working to make the reality something else. And I had the luck that this also became not only my volunteering free time activity, but also my work. And that was 8 years ago, and I'm still here. I had obviously other roles, not I didn't start as the co-director. And I'm also very, very excited for this talk, and in general, very excited for having Azadi Network and Nagin and other very, very powerful and inspiring women from Iran with us. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to the conversation also in this form.
Thanks.
And I hope Rana is back.
Yeah, Rana, can you hear us?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you want to just briefly introduce yourself and say maybe 2 sentences about how you're doing.
Okay, so my name is Rana Salman, and I'm the Palestinian co-director of Combatants for Peace. I've been with the movement for about 5 years, and for me, it's being part of this community is not just about working in peace-building efforts. It's about being part of a community that is embodying in the present the future that we want to bring about. And I'm very excited to be among you tonight, especially with amazing women from Israel and from Iran. And this doesn't happen so often, so it's an exciting moment. And even though like the difficult circumstances and around us has brought us actually together. So I'm very grateful for this cooperation. And yeah, it's been quite a difficult time for all of us in all these places, and we're here actually also to share how it's been for us, and we're looking forward to it.
Thank you. Yeah, I wanted to like name this talk "Ceasefire Now What?" So I mean, it's kind of crazy. I felt like from Tel Aviv, like how quickly we switched from like survival war mode back into kind of regular life. And of course, it's not regular life. There's a lot still horrible things happening here in Israel, in Gaza, Iran. Like, you know, we're not disillusioned to that, but kind of how quickly the reality shifted. And I maybe want to take us back like a few weeks and ask how each of you personally and also through your like identity were seeing this war play out, and maybe also like yeah, how you're doing now. Um, so maybe Nagin, do you want to start?
I can go first. It's been really difficult. Like the space we are trying to keep and create and expand, it's a really nuanced space. We do believe that there's a genocide happening in Gaza. There's apartheid happening in on the Palestinian land. We don't believe in the patriarchal system that exists and govern our both our countries. Like in Iran, the Islamic Republic is not a government that the people majority of the Iranian wants. And then suddenly we are seeing like this war starting, and there's no Israel didn't obey the international law even before that, and then we're seeing the expansion of that, and then there is how as an activist and especially as a feminist activist, how would you side? Like, where do you stand in this mishmash of patriarchal, system trying to bring you down and forcing you to side with one or the other and say, oh, like Israel was the bad part of it, or the Islamic Republic is a bad thing. We as the people and we as the grassroots, we feel, at least I felt really lonely. And I felt in that moment that there's this thing happening on top of my head. There's these two kids fighting with each other really loud, and the impact of what they're doing is changing my daily life and a lot of people, like millions of people's life, and there's this fear and there's nothing we can do. But then I was really lucky because I was in a space. I was really quickly after that I was in a conference that we organized it much beforehand, like in The Hague, and it was a peace, democracy and media conference. And in that space, I've heard from Narges Mohammadi, the Nobel Peace Prize winner, talking about the peace, the third space that we can create that and hold on to. And I do believe with you guys, we talked a lot. We've been messaging with you, with the community we built, and other people all around the world are reaching out and talking. So that kind of transition from feeling lonely at the moment of the attack, and especially, waking up to this horrible news and not knowing what exactly is happening, to the moment that the support came in and we started talking to each other and being able to untangle this really complex issue and finding a stance, and where do we belong. I think that was really good. As you said, like ceasefire sounds like, oh, there's a ceasefire now. There's no ceasefire. Like this is, there's a still like, the sirens going up in Iran, and the government crashing down on people, but they cannot stop the attacks that are still happening. It's not widespread. They're targeting certain positions, but still people are really worried. They're hearing the firing. So it's really tense, but at least we have each other, and that's something I really want to hold on to.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think it's often a lot of people ask our network and our organization how we like hold on to hope and how we continue the work that we do. And often I say, and other people I think say, that it's like the community that keeps us going, that like that connection with people, especially when we're in times of crisis and things are like really scary and you feel like everything's falling apart. That's like especially important time to reach out and but yeah, as you said, it's really difficult to know where you stand because it's not like clear cut black and white. And I think uh, both our organizations and us as people try to hold that nuance. So yeah. Uh, so maybe we'll go more into that because I'm sure people want to hear more about your perspectives on Iran and I don't know what, like more information about what's happening with activists there. But yeah, Esther, maybe you want to share how it's been for you, how you're doing, how like the last few weeks were. I know you and Rana were stuck abroad as this all happened. So
Yeah, actually, very like with a weird, uh, um, some kind of time lap. We were in Paris for a peace conference organized by French and local NGOs to bring the voices of grassroots binational peace activists to the UN conference that was supposed to take place on the 17th, 18th of June and co-chaired by France and Saudi Arabia to start to talk about the peace process again, to start to talk about a possible solution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, two states, all this. And the conference started like 7 hours after the attack of Israel started on Iran. So we all woke up to this shocking and scary and terrible news that like, wow, we are here 500 people from the region that we came here just for 2 days to talk, think together, to bring our voice to the UN, which is like a very, very unique possibility because usually in the peace process, up till now, with Israel, Palestine, but also in other places, usually the voice of the civil society is not heard. So we were very grateful to have this opportunity. And then the organizers, the French, decided to continue with the conference. So we just pulled ourselves together and we were there and we gave everything that we could just to receive the news by the end of the day that the conference is postponed of the UN. So the things that we were preparing hopefully will be still heard, but not at the time that they were planned to be, which was very, very close. Obviously, the war with Iran, it's again a huge setback for everything that is happening in the region because everyone is like now waiting to see what will happen and no one really wants to take a stand. We in Competence for Peace and usually in the peace camp also say that it's obviously for political reasons, like we are all basically held captive of people, usually men, deciding based on their own interests, and we are not sure how much is even according to another narrative when wars are a legitimate thing to do, which is obviously us in Competence for Peace and also with Azadi Network, we are for non-violence and we believe that conflicts should be solved in dialogue and with political solutions and with diplomacy. But even if you are in the part of the political thinking that that war is a legitimate tool to use in certain cases, even these people are not sure that this was something that serves anyone besides very, very few people. So that's all the very like confused thoughts that we had and we have also at this moment. And we also had a very, very long journey home with a lot of question marks and unclear situations where we just needed to take decisions like take this flight or that flight or stay put because we don't know if it's safe. We don't know if the airspace is going to be open when we are supposed to land or the plane will be just turned back or it's better to wait for Israel to send flight to at least get me home. Obviously, it's not the case for Rana. But eventually, we both took the route through Jordan. And even though it was a very unexpected way of ending this conference, and I was very, very worried for my kids and for my family, even though Jerusalem turned out to be one of the safest places within Israel because there were not so many missiles, but still, like knowing that my kids are in shelters and my husband is not alone because they were at his mother's place, so they were together at least as a family, but have like knowing that they are far away from me and that I can just wake up anytime to the news that there was a missile that hit Jerusalem and then figuring out if it was close to their place or not. So it was very, very scary. And eventually I got home like a week after it started on Thursday, 2 weeks ago, finding everyone safe and even in good shape. And it also showed that the peace that Israel had with Jordan and Egypt is so, so crucial. And this is how it should be, because if we wouldn't have peace with Jordan or with Egypt, I would never be able to come home, because these are the two borders that are still open and you can cross them on ground to get to Israel. So it was also a journey teaching a lot on maybe a different future for the Middle East, that it's definitely possible if we want it.
Mm. Yeah. It was a crazy time. I think like a lot of our team was there at that conference and was I remember just checking in with everyone, trying to figure out if people were home, if they were away, how, and Rana, like also the West Bank was totally under lockdown. I mean, that's not unusual, unfortunately, like living in the occupied territories, but maybe like you want to share a bit about your feelings and experiences and being away, coming back, and what that was like.
Yes, sure. I think the last 2 weeks were quite heavy for us emotionally and mentally. Maybe as Palestinians and Israelis, we're used to live in fear, but the recent war between Iran and Israel, and even the ongoing war on Gaza for the last 2 years, it feels like it has brought a new layer of uncertainty. And I think, as Esther mentioned, like our journey back home, we were actually abroad. Both of us were away from home when the war broke out. And there was so much fear. We were scared because we didn't know how we want to go back. We were scared for our families. The airspace were closed. We were stuck abroad. So there was this emotions that continue, like even when you're not in the country while the war is happening. I think for us, we have witnessed over the last 2 years so much destruction in different cities. We have witnessed dehumanization of the other. We have seen systematic starvation in Gaza, escalation in violence, whether in Gaza or in the West Bank. And it's actually the loss of innocent lives in all these cities. So it actually brings a sense of helplessness when we see and watch the Israeli government leading us to more death and division. So it's you feel that there is nothing much that we can do. But at the same time, I felt also a deep sense of solidarity, because when we were in Paris and as civil society, we were coming together from Palestine and Israel in a place where we felt that our voices want to be heard. We are part now of the process to bring peace to the region. Finally, we are the grassroots. We represent our communities, are finally being heard and invited to the table, like to share our recommendations. So that actually gave us a sense of hope as well. And just being receiving so many messages from around the world, and especially also from women, checking on each other, just realizing that we are actually in this together and that we are all humans and we are going through the same emotions, whether in Iran or in Israel or in Palestine. And that actually keeps me like grounded and motivated to continue to do this important work so that we can change this reality that we have been living for the past not just 2 years, for over 70 plus years.
Yeah, I think also for me, like as soon as the war started, I thought, immediately of this network of like the women, we're still like building this partnership, but still like from the few conversations I've had in our meetings with the women, like yeah, I was just concerned and really like every time I've spoken to the women, I've been like very inspired by the activism that you do, the work that we do. I think there's so much that overlaps, and I don't know. I think maybe I'd like to hear a bit like from Nagin about like what that work looks like and where you see also maybe the overlap with our work and with Israel Palestine, and why it was important for you to like build this partnership and have these conversations like we're having now.
Mm. I think we're like, for me, I get this feeling of being stuck from a lot of people. So I spent more than 20 years of my life doing journalism, activism, working with different groups. And I have like a wide network of activists from across the world. So it was really like when 7th of October happened and, the war intensified in Gaza, because it never stopped in Gaza, but intensified in there, and seeing that happening, we felt there is a need to do something, and there's this helplessness that you're mentioning. The only way to overcome it for us is at least talking to each other, and then through this talking and conversations and building trust and relationship, we can take other steps. This is what I genuinely believe in. I hear a lot that people say, and this is like activists from Africa, Latin America, all around the world, we feel the same. The system is much bigger than us. What's the point of us, kind of like defying all of them and trying to create something that doesn't exist? But we are activists. So being hopeful for change is our job, is in our job description. So we need to start from somewhere. I think the only reason that it stops us from changing the world is looking at it as big as it is, as big as the change is, and trying to tackle it at once and thinking, oh, we can never tackle this. Instead of that, I even my work as part of Azadi Network, that the network we built inside and outside Iran, we do try to bring down everything to bite sizes, and the cornerstone of all of our work is trust building. Let's start a relationship. Let's talk to each other and understand each other. And from there, other activities would bubble up. And I think that's why we started this collaboration with Combatants for Peace and starting these circles of women from these 3 countries to be able to build these relationships slowly. And hopefully from that, kind of occupying spaces, being out there at some point and pushing this narrative, and hopefully other people would join, and as a collective we can slowly strengthen ourselves and find better solutions. In a space like this right now, it was really interesting to see how people reacted to us actually sharing these posters. I got a lot of messages from different people, non-Iranians, non-Israeli, non-Palestinians, asking about, oh, how does this work? What are you guys doing? And I think this is a really, in itself is fantastic. People hearing
In like a
something
genuine, curious
possible.
way.
Yes.
Oh, good.
Yes. And this is we can do this. and then slowly something else and build a building out of it. So that's my hope in the long term. And I do believe in long-term change. I don't think short-term would gain us anything. And unfortunately, we live in a social media world that like everyone wants a solution right now. We don't have a solution. We don't have to have a solution right now. Our solution is our relationships. It's the trust we are building. And I'm really proud of that. You know, we made that possible. And yeah, thank you to everyone who participated in this community.
I really love that. What did you say? Our relationships is our
My
power.
brain. You're asking me what I
Is
said?
our our activism. No, you put it really beautifully.
We have to rewind and
I
listen to
will.
it again.
I will for sure. I know Rana also talks about this a lot. I wonder if you want to add anything like about this kind of short-term versus long-term like vision. And we get a lot of criticism, and I'm sure you get a lot of criticism for that as well. Like people like, what's your solution? What do you do? What's kilo? What's in the here and now? And it's like I think there's a big question mark around that.
I think for us, our vision is actually working for the long term, as Nigin mentioned, because we're not just about the current moment and tomorrow. No, we have a vision for the future, a future where all of us, from the river to the sea, live in liberty, in equality, in dignity. That's our vision. That's what we are working and towards achieving. And that's what we are doing actually now on a smaller scale as a community of combatants for peace, as Palestinians and Israelis, because we are working together to end occupation, to end all the forms of oppression. And I know it can be very depressive sometimes when we don't see immediate results. But that's understandable because we know with violence you can see like an immediate result, but it's actually doesn't take us anywhere. We will just be trapped in the same cycle of violence. But non-violence is actually, I know it takes a long time until we achieve our goals, but eventually it's more sustainable. It's more for the long term. That's why we are committed to non-violence, and that's what we believe. Our way, that's the path that we choose to achieve our liberty and our safety as two people living on this place that we call homeland, because that's the way that we think it will lead us to something that is more sustainable for the long run.
Yeah, for sure. I think also like I was just thinking while you were speaking, like also I don't know, it should be really it should be a really obvious thing that's like, okay, we're for women having this conversation, but it's not always the case, often isn't the case. And I really appreciate that and want to like call attention to it as well. And maybe if anyone wants to share a bit about like if you see the role of women in particular, or you know, in our work, in our shared collaborations, how that's helped you or hindered you or anything. Maybe Esther, if you have any thoughts about that.
Yeah, I think we see like also us being four women having this conversation and also preparing it in a group of women and leading an organization also obviously together with Rana and also with other very, very powerful and inspiring colleagues that we have, such as Carly as well. It shows that how we relate to things in general as women and how we like have this I don't know if it's like an approach coming from how we are raised culturally or it's something deeper than that, but I think we do have a quality of putting a lot of ego aside and trying to talk and understand and also seeing the perspective of the other person even when we have a fight or when we have a misunderstanding. And so this ability to listen and all these qualities which are very counterproductive when we talk about politics. And I think this is why it's also a very, very important realization to give civil society a role, because I can say for myself that I, from time to time, think like, okay, like we should be in politics. Like, why we are in civil society? If we want to really influence, then we should be in politics. And then I say like,
Go
okay,
for it,
but
Esther. You can
politics
join
is
politics.
like
I'm good.
maybe,
I'm good.
but it's also like so much of, you know, like ego and fights and like putting, like saying that I'm more important than the others, and I just don't believe in this. And I want to uh, believe that also when we are in civil society, in grassroots, in connection with a lot of people, in connection with people who have even less power and words to express what is happening with them, and we are channeling it into a bigger dialogue, it's also super important, and it should be there when decisions are taken. So I think women's role is crucial. And I'm also very happy to see that there are a lot of organizations who are led or contain women, and we are trying to build, just as our cooperation, we are trying to build other corporations, and I think it's gonna lead somewhere. Like it's not gonna stop at having conversations with each other. We are also influencing and doing a lot of things to create change.
For sure, for sure. Do you guys want to add or jump in?
I want to add, like, my brain went something completely different. When Esther was talking, it reminded me of, you know, we're talking about Iran, Palestine, and Israel right now, right? And the women involved in it. But then it's much more bigger than that. Like, at the same time, all of us are connected to causes around the world. Like, yes, the other day, was it yesterday? I'm completely lost. Yes, today's Monday. Like, for example, in Turkey, the LGBTQ community is under a lot of pressure. Like in in Congo, there's like a war happening. In different parts of the world is seeing this kind of pressure from the governments and the system that exists, and trying to oppress people in different ways and forms. And what we see is that in the pockets of the world, that the women are getting the upper hand, that the women are more visible and have the equal rights as much as possible in the society, in these frameworks. We see a change. We see a fundamental change towards a more inclusive community, a community that thinks about everyone as part of it, doesn't exclude, it doesn't create otherness, it doesn't say, oh, you don't obey my patriarchal laws, so I'm going to go to war with you constantly. Look at the countries who are doing that. Like, look at, for example, Swedish government. Like, do they go to war now? Or like, talking about war, or like, we have Iceland and Sweden. Iceland, I'm not sure, but Sweden and the Spanish government talking about the feminist foreign policy. There are changes happening in the world in terms of women's progress. And wherever we see those changes, it's been proven by numbers and data that it's a better society. It's a better world. And I cannot understand why we are still have to convince other people that a more inclusive world is a better place. It's a place, a world without a war is a better place. Like, these are like mind-blowing. Why do we
Crazy
still have to
idea.
argue this?
Yeah. I think it's also, I would add on to that, like, for sure, but I would also add that, of course it doesn't exist in a vacuum. Everything kind of interacts with everything here. So I think from our context, I see a lot like the patriarchy interacting with like the militarism and, like things like celebrating like the women in high ranking roles in the military, or kind of the toxic masculinity within that, like all of that overlaps and becomes really problematic. And so it's also about, yeah, giving women rights and agency and having a feminist lens, and also addressing all of the other issues of oppression that we see, so yeah.
Yeah, sometimes people think if we see a woman in a position of power, like in military, that means, you know, feminist movement is pro-military. You know, like people's conceptions about these kind of ideologies is completely wrong. And they, when they see a woman in a position of power and thinking, oh, there definitely must, you know, so women are running that country, so that's it. A lot of women, for example, you look at Italy, they're not looking at it from a lens of feminism. It's not about a woman in power. It's about the lens, and it's about a man can have the same lens and bring the same kind of change and be against. And we had that like throughout history. So I'm hoping that we would read more as different, you know, and look back at history and talk more with each other, and, you know, exchange information, and be able to see the world from a different lens.
Definitely. I wonder also if you guys have questions for each other or want to take this in a particular direction, because
I
I'm
always have, I talk a lot, so you can't stop me. But I
no,
have a
no, it's
question for
great.
Rana.
It's great.
Again, I actually wanted to ask you, like Carly, you also mentioned before, to hear a bit more about what's happening in Iran, because the information that we get is very, very, very filtered. Like it's obviously true for always, like also in the West Bank, but and Gaza even more. But here we have the at least the privilege to have partners and colleagues to ask them for first-hand information. But on Iran, we hear really nothing. Like since the war is over, it's or whatever, there is a ceasefire. You know, like everything is like getting back to kind of normal, and people who do care for the war in Gaza can again go to demonstrate. So we go to demonstrate, and the hostages. So also people who care for the hostages, again, we go to demonstrate, and then like, okay, this was like something that happened. We still don't really get what, and it's being kind of like forgotten. So I also feel very lucky that I know you and other women who are from Iran, and we can at least ask you. So also you mentioned in the beginning that there are still sirens going, which I just don't know why. So if you like want to say a bit on what's happening. And
I will try not to cry, but every time I talk about this part, I just shed some tears. But it's, so there, in regards to the sirens, there has been like in the past, you know, since the ceasefire, every other day there's reports of Iran's what you call it in English. So the system that stop the missiles from coming, they start firing back. So the people reporting in different cities hearing that, and then the government downplays it, or like there were instances that they said, oh, it's just we've been trying, you know, testing something, and then like you could see the smoke coming up, and so there is something happening. No one is clear about it, what it is happening. And then today we've heard from the Takht Ravanchi, the Iranian minister, that said we would sit on the negotiation talks if they stop attacking us. So the attacks are still happening, but how big they are, you know, what's the damage, where is exactly happening, it's really unclear. Iran is a massive country, and what they did is the government shut down the internet in a lot of parts, and the internet access is really limited. So people are getting more access nowadays, but even now, like watching a live Instagram is impossible for Iranians right now. And they implemented their intranet, which means people can use the in-country kind of connection network that allows them to only have access to the websites that are proven with the by the government. All of these messaging apps we are using are not accessible. The internet speed, if you have that, is really slow, so you won't be able to do a lot of things that we take for granted as internet users. Then we know at least 800 people been arrested. We know 3 people have been executed up to now. There's like a big number of people getting arrested or called in that these are not counted. They've been putting a lot of pressure on activists on for different reasons. Some of them, they say, oh, you posted something 3 weeks ago or 3 months ago that was offensive towards the regime or like supporting of this and that, and then they call people in and give them a fear and say, if you say anything else, we're going to do this and that to you. So the scaremongering is going on. There's also, on the other part of it, there is they arrested, like, for example, the religion minority group Baha'i community, more than 150 people. We don't know what's going to happen to them. There was a lot of fear of heavy sentencing, including execution. We still don't know and unclear on their charges or what's going to happen to them next. There's also a lot of pressure, like there's like official statements saying even in your WhatsApp messaging, or not WhatsApp, in your messaging with your family members outside Iran, if they're asking you what happened to in your city, what's happening around you, you're not allowed to talk about it. If you talk, we're monitoring your calls and we're going to arrest you. So there's like this crazy operation happening inside. Yes, definitely there would be ways for some people to get news out, but it's not it's not something that you can do it easily, and there's always a security risk with it. We're really worried about the prisoners. There are some prisoners, we don't know where they are. They've been moved, and their family members are really worried about it. Tomorrow is actually, on Tuesdays, the family members of the prisoners, are especially the ones who are the families who are in diaspora, get together and talk about these family members who are vanished at the moment, and we don't know what's happening. And it's they call it, like, there's a campaign called No Executions, Tuesdays of No Executions. And then that's happening on that side. But also the Iranian government the Islamic Republic has been really shady about information. So how many civilians has been targeted as part of the attack on Iran? We don't know, and we cannot trust the information that comes out of it. But we know for sure there were civilians, because we someone whose friends house being destroyed completely, or the other person. So there is that kind of information. We know the economy in the country is under attack, like it's under a lot of strain. So there's a limitation on how much money you can get from the bank, and that's another added aspect of frustration for people. The inflation is going up every day. We know the exchange rate of the money went up again, and we know that, like, every time the dollar goes up, people know, oh my God, there's something bad is gonna happen. That's kind of like a stress factor for us. When the dollar goes up, we were like, oh my God, there's gonna be another attack or something, or they're gonna go like out there and say something bad, or so. That's the situation right now. It's really it's full of tension and unclear, and that's the biggest worry. But I was like, let's hear from Gaza as well, and in general what's happening there, because we don't hear. And then maybe Esther, you talk about Israel too.
Where's Jana here?
Yeah, I'm here.
I don't see you.
Okay. Yeah, I only see us three like on the screen, but yeah, I think even if we have a ceasefire, it's not an actual ceasefire. Like, there is so much violence that is happening, and I can speak about the West Bank. I don't live in Gaza, but we have activists who have families in Gaza, and that's how we receive also firsthand testimonies about how life is like currently in Gaza. And the stories that we hear, and also like the testimonies that are being shared, people getting killed just trying to get aid to their families. People are starving, and they are trying to get flour to their families and being shot at. These stories have been circling around, and it's actually very, very disturbing when we see all these images and all these stories. And we feel that we're very far away, even though close geographically, but there is nothing much that we can do. And that's why, for me, this kind of conversation is an act of resistance, because we can't continue to be silent, and we can't continue to live on fear and on assumptions. We need these voices to speak up, and I believe our work at Competence for Peace and Azadi Network, our commitment to nonviolence, to justice, to human rights, it's very important, and that's why we need voices, especially also voices of women, voices across borders, to speak up against all the oppression and the violence that is happening and targeting all innocent lives, as we see all around us. And that's why we need this kind of cooperations and this solidarity and collectiveness, as we are all in this together, and we know we're very interconnected, and our future is interconnected. And we see how everything that is happening, whether in this region or in the Middle East, it's also affecting other places around the world. That's why we need to, as we always say, to tackle the root causes of the conflict, to end the occupation, so that we can have a more regional security here in the Middle East. And I feel like women have a strong role to do. And we have seen throughout history, like from different examples around the world, whether in Liberia, there was a mass movement of women who actually made pressure on their leaders to go to negotiations and make peace and end like a brutal civil war. In Colombia as well, they also played a key role, like in the peace processes. In the Philippines, they were part of the peace talks. They were negotiators, facilitators, community leaders, because women know the cost of the war. And we have been the ones who hold our communities together, take care of our families. And even like while we are grieving, we still continue to show up, as we do also tonight. So we come with a different strength. We come with a different way of leadership, not through power, but like through compassion and courage, and that's very much needed at these days. So I'm very, very grateful for this conversation, and Nigin for sharing also like how it's like in Iran. And I'm sure that it's not easy and it's very difficult, but I appreciate your voice and you're speaking up about what's happening. It's very important also for the world to learn, especially because we don't see this on the news, we don't hear anything about it. And I'm sure also there are different stories in Israel or in Palestine that are not being shared. Even for us here in the region, we watch different news channels. We don't know much what is happening on the other side of the wall. So it's very important, these kind of connections, so that we can also hear these kind of testimonies and firsthand events, and to learn what is happening around us. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah, thank you, Rana, and Nagin, and Esther, all of you. This has been really, really inspiring, really important conversation. I'm like really enjoying just hearing what you have to say. And I also want to take this opportunity to invite other people to join this network, other women. We'll share on our story, in our bio, and send out like a link for anyone who's interested. We're building a women's network of Israeli, Palestinian, Iranian women. It doesn't matter where you live, but who believe in nonviolence and peace and justice and humanity. So yeah, it's really nice to have this opportunity to talk and build, and maybe we'll finish up soon. And I just want to hear if you have any last thoughts or comments, and maybe also if you want to share any feedback you've heard from our activists, from your activists, Nagin, from your network, about what this collaboration has meant as well. Like, I think, like, I would love to hear if there's any things that you've heard from people.
Sorry, I didn't get the question. My brain is completely
That's okay.
fried today.
Just about like these relationships, and if you've heard any feedback from the women who've been involved in this group, and what they've had to say, what it's meant to them. We've had a few meetings about sharing and getting to know each other and trying to see where this could lead, what kind of actions we want to take in the future. If you have heard any feedback.
I think one of the things that comes across, like, people love to do is like meeting in person, being able to see each other and being in the same space and see how that feels. You know,
it's a very complicated issue, as we can tell you through Israel Palestine, the meeting in person.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like this. You know, we're completely separated. So this online space is actually bringing us together. It's just the first step of bringing down that barrier of, oh, okay, we meet each other. Like, it's possible to meet. And then if you can turn that to a physical, I think that's what people like. That's what inspired people, because online it's just opened the door of familiarity, and people wants more, you know, to gain more from it. There is a question of how can we show solidarity, how can we be there when this happens, you know, when something happens in any of these countries and we want to support the cause that we believe in and it's based on our values. We haven't found a formula for that yet. Have we? No. So we have to kind of think more about it, and if anyone has any ideas or suggestions, I think it would be fantastic to have those. But also, you know, like, what does it mean? Like the questions you asked today, Carly, I think they're really valid for all of us to reflect on. And it brought, like, the conversation we had and the gathering we had, I've heard from the Iranian part of it, that they wanted to kind of go deeper, you know, understand what's happening on the ground on Palestine, what's life look like in Israel. You know, we don't have those information. And maybe even, you know, in those spaces we had suggestions of, oh, can we have just ask questions about each other's country and political background and history and what happened, and, you know, the simple knowledge that we are lacking about each other. I think that was the other part that came up a lot in the feedbacks.
And to not have maybe a 10-hour Zoom on.
Yes.
We're limited to, it always feels like there's so much to I mean, from my side, there's a lot I want to know and understand, and I feel also from other Israelis and Palestinians, like, we, like you said, we want to know and see you and see how we can be in solidarity. So yeah, it's a really good and important question.
Yeah, we have to take it back to the people as part of our community and ask them. Maybe like there are women who can volunteer and come and do a question and answer live, so more women can hear. I don't know. Let's bounce around some ideas. We invite everyone to do that too. Oh, we have a link, right, Carly? That people can join.
Should I share it now?
Yes. So if anyone wants to send us suggestions or wants to join the community, they can use the link. Oh, we lost Carly.
We lost Carly. Okay. Hopefully she will be back soon.
No, we definitely can put the link in our bios, both for Azadi Network and Combatant for Peace. You have 3 languages, right? English, Arabic, and Hebrew.
Yeah. Carly's
okay, I'm sending the link. But yeah, we'll share it afterwards as well. The form is only in English, and most of our meetings have been in English, but we're open to also doing translation and making it accessible for other people. Esther, do you want to say any final comments or thoughts or feedback you've heard from the Israeli side about this collaboration? And
yeah, I will just say that like after the peace conference, I got involved in the women forum of the UN decision 1325, which is the decision that the UN at least recognizes that women should have a very important role in peacemaking and peacekeeping. And there is a group of women in Israel and Palestine working together from different groups and NGOs to give some kind of manifestation of that UN decision in our region. And someone posted our talk in the group asking like, do you know these people? And then Yasmin, who is the leader of the group, was like, yeah, Esther just joined our group. So it was very funny to see like, you know, us coming up sent by someone else that I don't even know. So I was very happy to see that our message is like somehow spread around, and hopefully also our conversation will reach a lot of people. So that's one thing for the how people react. And we in Competence for Peace, we also always say that we are embodying the future we want to see. So we are co-resisting the occupation now, and we are also building a different future based on the values of equality, freedom, understanding, accepting all this. And when we were like, we are having this conversation, and I think we can also say that this embodying the future is exactly what we are doing now. And also one of the conceptions that we are made to believe that should be true is that Israel is a villa in the jungle, and like we are the Western whatever in the Middle East, and I don't know what. And we definitely know, and I'm not going to start a full conversation on that because it's already late, that this is a misconception. It's a misconception even if we look at Jewish history and how it's interconnected with the land and how it's interconnected with other people around us, for the good and for the bad. Like obviously there were conflicts also before, but we also know that they are possible to solve. So when we are sitting in this circle together, it's actually embodying a different future for the whole of the Middle East, of creating something that is opening the borders, opening the cultures, creating connections, because eventually that will actually lead to a change.
Definitely, yeah. And I think like also, you know, we're not monolith identities. There's so many like Jewish, Iranian, Israelis, you know, who have roots there, and you know, all these connections of across these contexts. So it's really not so like it's not such a crazy idea that we could have an alternative future. And there were periods in history where we went you know, like what we're living now is mostly a modern conflict that you know, we, as you said, won't get into all the background, but yeah. Rana, anything you want to add and finish final thoughts or comments about what this community has meant for you, or what you've heard from other Palestinian women in the group?
Yeah, I think for maybe the people who don't know that we have even started this kind of conversations between Palestinian, Israeli, and Iranian women, like on different platforms, like on a safe space for those women to come together and share their personal stories, share about their fear, about their anger, and have these kind of conversations, which is very rare. Like it was even for me, like the first time to be in touch with Iranian women, for example. And I feel like for many also Palestinian women, it was very inspiring and very empowering to see this community of amazing women coming together. And this is an invitation, I would say, to different women who are watching us maybe tonight and others who want to join our community and to take part. I think from our theme, like the ceasefire, and what is now, it's time to act. It's now time to work and to build this partnership and cooperation, empower this community so that we can create a different reality. And we need this collective cooperation and visions and all these amazing skills and people like around so that we can work together to build a different story than what we grew up with. And I think we can do it. And as history also shown that when women lead in peace processes, like peace become possible. And according also to different examples from around the world, when peace processes also include women, they are more likely to succeed and to last. So I hope more women will also step up and be part of peace processes and to push towards a peaceful solution, especially in this region and in the Middle East in general.
All right, I think we'll finish there. Thank you guys for joining. It was really nice to see you and talk to you. And thank you to everyone who followed along, commented, Mihra, and everyone else that I haven't managed to see and give a shout out to.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for you also.
Sana, cut you.
Sorry, what did you say?
I just said thank you, and yeah, hopefully see you soon again online.
Until we meet in person.
Yeah.
One
Inshallah.
day we will meet in person. It would be peaceful enough. All of us get together in one physical
Amen,
place.
amen.
Yes.
All right, have a good night.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.